Welcome to another exciting edition of Marquee Backstage All Access. I'm your host, Julie Milam. As always, we're going to dive deep into the lives and music of our guests, and we'll share 5 full-length song performances, all of which were recorded at Thunder Sound Studios. Let's get started. Today we're joined by Wade and Moksha, a fascinating husband and wife duo whose individual talents have combined to create the magic we call HuDost. Their musical influences include pop, rock, folk, with traditional Sufi music, Macedonian, and Arabic, just to name a few. Get ready to go on a musical journey all around the world. Here is HuDost with Mercy.
And I looked for you, empty and open, waiting to be spoken to. You came into me like a light in a gold mine, showing me what's mine that I couldn't see. And I have no more to offer. Drink the nectar of truth divine, as Moses my work, as Yusuf I shine, and Christ is my sign. In myself it is mercy I find. And I made you my salvation, my elation, so my freedom might find. Just like a pearl dropped in the sweet wine, I melted to nothing till my heart beats with thine. And I have no more to offer. Drink the nectar of truth divine, as Moses my work, as Yusuf I shine, and Christ is my sign. In myself it is mercy I find. When all was found in who you were, your language came to me, and through your words that remain still, the sight was shared with me. Mercy arise, mercy arise, mercy arise, became mine. I shine, and Christ is my sign. In myself, it is mercy I find. In myself, it is mercy I find. In myself, it is mercy I find. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
So, how did these two individuals from different countries and cultures discover one another? And even more intriguing is how do they draw from their diverse backgrounds to complement one another and make beautiful music? We'll share that with you and so much more as HuDost recalls their early days and how they've evolved over the years. And we have more music performance in store for you, so here is HuDost with More Sokol PA. Moksha and Jamal Wade, welcome to Thunder Sound.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
We are so excited to have you, but we really want to know how all of the magic began.
So I can give my perspective on this. We basically, I heard about this thing called Rumi Festival, which I thought was going to be like an academic, scholastic festival about the poet Rumi. And I drove for about 19 hours with some friends from Montreal all the way down to North Carolina, and arrived and discovered that it was not an academic festival whatsoever, but more a crazy party for 3 days thrown by Turkish Sufis. And I stumbled into the main hall, and across the room from me was this man playing drums, and I locked eyes with him and had this weird feeling, and then everything developed from there. So from that point on, we then just started to slowly collaborate with each other. We lived far apart, so it was kind of, at first, I went down to Florida at one point. And we started,
Where I lived.
Where he lived at the time, and we started working together. And then, of course, fell in love, which changed everything. And then kind of started traveling together. I dragged him up to Montreal for several years while I did my undergraduate, and he did his degree in sound engineering. And then we started to tour full-time in 2006. But at that point, we'd already done a European tour and, especially various summer tours. So we kind of already had quite a repertoire under our belts. And then we toured our butts off for many, many years until a certain point when we really wanted to have a child, and did, and kind of went, how do we do this in a more sane way? So since then, we've still done music full time, but we've been able to be a lot more picky about where we play and what we do, and we've had amazing opportunities, so I've been very fortunate with that.
So
Tour smarter, not harder is our motto. And
Yeah.
It's 20 years this year that we actually met.
Yeah,
And look at all that you've accomplished.
I know, right?
So when you sat down to start collaborating, how did you decide to come up with a name that really embodied the two of you?
We didn't know right away, actually. It took us a few years to figure out what to call ourselves.
We called ourselves Moksha Jamal
Yeah,
at first.
our names.
Perfect.
So, and then HuDost actually means like who is the breath. It's almost like the Turkish Om. And we were kind of saluting how we met, and a lot of my actual like musical training and stuff too. But it's like the Turkish Om, and then Dost is the true friend. So it's the true friend of that seed sound, the greater source and breath of everything.
Which totally embodies the two of you.
It's kind of like Namaste, but in a more...
It's more like namaste, y'all.
HuDost.
HuDost.
HuDost. So the craziest pronunciations that you've heard of HuDost?
Well, I was saying that we arrived at a big theater one time that had an awning, one of those clapboard things, and arrived and it said, "Tonight, HuDost," with an exclamation mark and everything. So that's our pet name for us, is HuDost.
Kicking up dust with HuDost.
Yeah, that's
Do
right.
host.
Do host.
It does sound better with a southern twang though, doesn't it?
HuDost.
Yeah.
You can make it a little British. HuDost.
Yeah.
So your formal training,
Yeah.
tell us how you think that has impacted the way that you write and perform music.
My formal training is primarily, I played piano for several years in terms of just sort of Western classical training, and I did my, my minor in classical chamber music composition for voice, so did that as well. But the rest of my training is actually more like Eastern European and Western Middle Eastern singing. And so it totally impacts what we do. And so we do really a fusion of styles. I also love writing straight up songs, but I know that in my brain are these different, time signatures and different scales and that kind of thing that affect how I write. And then he has a completely different musical background.
Yeah, I grew up playing punk rock music. I was the first. I was a metal guy. I always liked, metal, and then on the other hand, Earth, Wind and Fire, Prince, Stevie Wonder, that whole kind of those two tracks. But when I started playing music, it was like noisy punk rock in the late 80s.
The louder the better?
Yeah, and then, it started going into Sonic Youth, feedback and stuff like that. And then, as I kind of got turned on a little bit more, I started following the Grateful Dead around, and then, getting into that jam thing. So it's all over the place.
So meeting Moksha really blew your mind in
Yes.
many ways.
Both ways, though. You'd think we'd be either completely incompatible or that we'd be a really interesting complementary thing, and that's what it is. It has this interesting sort of almost polarity dynamic that can actually create something interesting that happens between what we do.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic, and I can't wait to share it with everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. I also played in a polyrhythmic just intonation ensemble, world music ensemble for 4 years. So I studied, odd time signatures and Middle Eastern scales. So I already and Middle Eastern rhythms. So I already had, that in the wheelhouse as well. So.
And I toured with a gospel choir for a while. So we're just weird. We're just
you're just committed to
Yeah.
making great music, and you're both open to learning new things and to figuring out ways to continue to grow.
Yeah.
And I admire that.
And over the years, when we first started playing, the diversity of styles that we do was actually like something that impeded how quickly we could create a fan base or get a proper manager, proper booking agent or whatever. And then there was this
Like,
point,
you guys need to pick a style and stick with it.
Yeah, and then there was
like-
this weird like flipping point where suddenly that actually became our strength, was that we could offer this wide palette of different things. And I think it had to do more with our own trusting of our own integrity with what we loved and not doubting, our own ability with what we create.
Polite persistence.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you first
Longevity.
reached out to venues and you were trying to book shows, how did you describe your music?
I don't know how to describe what we do. That was our first way of doing it. We now call it neo-folk-world-rock.
There you go.
Or retro pop art rock.
See, we're still not clear. Never mind.
I like the neo-folk world rock.
Yeah.
I like that. We're here. We're
retro
here to
pop
make sure
art rock?
everybody metro pop
Country
art rock.
and
not
Eastern
Stop
fusion.
there.
Not metro pop.
No.
That's a whole other thing. Retro pop. Okay.
Retro pop. Okay. We're going to expose all of it today.
Perfect.
That's what she said.
No adesso colpire e vogliono mare oggi sole e di una scapilla Yandele
We'd like to thank Thunder Sound Studios for letting us film our show from their fully equipped analog and digital recording studio complex in Franklin, Kentucky. For more information about Thunder Sound, please visit thundersound.com or follow them on social media at Thunder Sound Studio. Now let's get back to our spotlight artist, HuDost. Wade and Moksha are genuine and compassionate by nature. They focus daily on how they can make a difference in the world, not only with their music, but through their advocacy work. This is a value they've also instilled in their young son. Since 2015, they've been highly engaged activists doing advocacy work as Kentucky Congressional District Representatives for ONE, a nonprofit organization working to end extreme poverty. So staying on the topic of family values, we're going to share a very special HuDost song with you now called Red-Haired Son. So you guys have always been very compassionate people, but life experiences have really elevated that. Tell us about it.
Becoming a parent is the number one thing, and being a parent, being active in that. And we had done a lot of nonprofit work and volunteering of different kinds prior to having a child, but there was something that was a catalyst for in me, in both of us. And I think we both felt sort of cynical and a little bit stagnant in terms of being able to actually foster change around us. And with having a child, we were like, we are not totally happy with how the world is. How can we do this in a way that's not just us whining from the couch or from the stage, because that doesn't really accomplish anything. How can we do this on the ground? And that's when we got involved with ONE, which is a nonprofit organization. The main aim is ending extreme poverty. And that takes place in different ways. We actually, since then, because we've been so involved, we've become the Kentucky Congressional District reps for this area. And we go and meet with different congressmen and senators and basically voice the concerns of people in our communities about what's happening on a more global level and how the federal foreign aid budget can be used most effectively in terms of eradicating extreme poverty.
You also do work outside of the United States with ONE as well. Tell us about that.
We do. Well, it's an international organization, so it functions differently in different countries. In terms of working outside of the country, we've done more. The main area that ONE covers is sub-Saharan Africa, primarily because there's been such extreme cases of extreme poverty, as well as, high levels of disease, and because it's been some of the most sort of turbulent area in terms of different types of strife. Other countries have extreme poverty, but the governments are much more involved, and there's actually projected positive outcomes with that. And so this is the area that's needed the most attention in recent years. And we've done a lot in terms of helping with sustainable electricity in these places, which makes it so that clinics and educational centers and dangerous areas of urban places can have street lamps and, various things. It's made a huge difference in terms of that. We've done a lot around education, and especially around education for girls and young women, because them being able to have education transforms economies, and, it has just unbelievable impact in terms of what that creates. And then recently we've been working around especially making sure people can have the vaccines that they need for diseases that there's no reason for them to die from, because the vaccines are already in existence, and it's just a question of making them accessible to those people. And then the other thing, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about Bloodwater, but through the work of ONE, we actually connected with Dan, the lead singer of Jars of Clay, because he has a nonprofit called Bloodwater that's based in Nashville, and we met in DC doing lobbying work and then fell in love through music.
And he ended up co-producing our record that came out last year.
So your work to help others and to make a bigger impact really made an impact personally, but also professionally.
Yeah, and what we loved about it was that it was all the right reasons for our coming together musically. It was not just because we loved each other's music, but it was also because we were passionate about some of the same issues. And we wrote a song together that we'll play today called Rise Together, and it's that very thing of using our voices that can be heard on behalf of people whose voices are not heard, and what that does.
Yeah, we actually got with Dan and said, how can we write a pop song about advocacy? you know, how do
And
you
magic was made.
encapsulate that in 3.5 minutes?
Yeah.
So what do you think is the most rewarding to you two personally and to your son out of the work that you do?
This will be the first year we do lobbying work every year in DC, speaking with different congressmen and senators. And this is the first time our 6-year-old will be lobbying with us, which will be quite amazing. I mean,
He's already working on his elevator pitch.
It's true.
But we went and visited a couple of weeks ago. We went and saw Jimmy Carter teach Sunday school the last time he did. And Caleb and I, our son, wore our One t-shirts. And everyone was asking what One was there. I mean, Jimmy Carter knew who it was, but Caleb was already like, it helps fight extreme poverty. He was already kind of like, so we're like, now by the time we get to DC for Lobby Day, we're going to have your elevator
And
pitch
he's too
down.
young to be intimidated by a former president.
Oh, yeah.
He was very excited.
He was definitely
about
blushing. Yeah. But
he put his hand on his shoulder and everything.
I think it makes a big difference, that kids are aware of far beyond their own sheltered worlds. And it's not like we're exposing him to things that'll be damaging, but making sure he's aware of what kind of conditions other children his own age live in and what we can do to change that for them.
For you to teach him his own capability of the difference he can make in the world is so beautiful and so impactful to so many of us.
Yeah. And I think the more we learn young that we actually can be effective, we don't have to just struggle or be angry with how things are done. We can change how things are done. We can change where, even government spending is made. So, and it's the part that we're helping to manage is less than 1% of the federal budget, but it makes a huge change and impact for so many lives.
It absolutely does. So thank you for all of the work that you do.
Thank
you for
you.
the love that you share.
Thank you.
Where did you come from, my redhead son? From a distant place with a lovely face. Here's a whiskey toast to the Holy Ghost and the spirits go. Who knows the most? Oh, 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 oh. And love is hard, but I do my best. I will keep my worth, but I'll give the rest. And if we come through with a lucky few, I'll share my honey from the wild bee's nest, and I will grow from sea to sky. So my breath is trying to find my place, trying to find my place, and what I've got now when I'm lost tiger lost from the zoo of God. I will find my place. 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 Oh, I will find. I will find my place. I will find my place. Oh, I will find.
If you'd like to view all of our televised episodes, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Marquee Backstage. There you'll find more music, behind-the-scenes videos and photos, and so much more. We have one last chat with Wade and Moksha, and we're going to talk about what the future holds for their family, their career, and their advocacy work. And you don't want to miss the Chishti anthem. This is HuDost. So in the 2 decades since you met, you guys have accomplished so much. As we begin a new decade, what is in store for HuDost?
We have a bunch of exciting stuff this year that we're very excited about because it's exciting.
I knew you didn't catch it.
Try that again.
Don't sway.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of exciting stuff that we're jumping into this year. The very first thing, actually, we have been very lucky to receive a National Endowment for the Arts grant for a project that we're doing with the New Dialect Dance Company and the visual artist Jana Harper. And we will be in May performing this piece at Oz Arts in Nashville. And it's a new way of working for us. We're essentially creating the score and doing live performance for the dance piece. And so that's sort of the first thing. We, this year, will be touring Europe again, and it's been several years since we toured Europe. The last time...
Full circle,
It's
right?
full circle.
Right.
The last time we toured Europe, I didn't know what was happening with my health, but I was having what we later discovered were hallucinatory seizures. I actually thought I was going insane. It was then discovered that I had a brain tumor that was causing them, and so I went through a major surgery for that and lost a lot of my speech abilities. I couldn't see for a while. It impacted my health in various ways. And so this actually feels almost like a reclaiming, coming back to Europe and doing it in a different way and touring to some of the same places that we went to many years ago. So we're excited about that. And then the other major adventure, we'll be doing, of course, a lot of North American touring in Canada and the US. But the other adventure, do you want to talk about Africa at all?
You're on a roll.
Okay. So we will be in October going to Africa, and we'll be going with Dan from Jars of Clay.
And Bloodwater.
And Bloodwater, his nonprofit organization that does incredible work there in terms of both around HIV/AIDS and making sure that people have sustainable water sources in different regions there. So we will get to do some hands-on in the field work there, which will be wonderful. And we're also talking about doing some kind of musical collaboration as well while there. So that will be a completely new adventure for us. And that's another sort of full circle because we've been doing this work with one for so long. And this is going to be what we've been hoping for a while, of bringing together some of the music and the actual on the field work with that.
It's a perfect way to express the heart and soul of HuDost. So thank you for sharing that with us today. We're so excited to follow you on this journey.
Yay, you should come
So
with
are we.
us.
I'd love to.
Come to Africa.
I'd love to. I'd love to. had a great time with you today, and we hope you've enjoyed your time as well. If you'd like to keep in touch with HuDost, follow them on social media at HuDost, or visit their website at hudost.com. To find out more about future guests and all things Marquee Backstage, follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Marquee Backstage. Next week, we'll be bringing back the heart of traditional country music with singer-songwriter Colton Keiss. And we'll leave you with one last song from HuDost now. This is a collaboration with Dan Hasseltine from Jars of Clay and a single from the new HuDost album of Water and Mercy. This is Rise Together. Until next time, I'm your host, Julie Milam, and I'll meet you here next week on Marquee Backstage All Access.
I had a dream. I shed the last tear in the world. Everyone's looking at me. I had the thought, everybody moves to the same light, and we will find our way. No, nothing's meaningless. The dream is my own evenness, and every step will push us to the place. Set foot in the river, float out to the ocean, fall down to the bottom, and we will all rise. Step off of the mountain, fall down to the valley, bury your body, all rise together. How could we know our hands would become weapons of war? And what about peace? I saw the rain and the colors that bled from the clouds and the sun in the daylight. Nothing was left out and no one was feeling alone. We find our recklessness, the dream is our own evidence, and every step will push us to the place. Set foot in the river, float out to the ocean, fall down to the bottom, and we will all rise. Step off of the mountain, fall down to the valley, bury your body, all rise together. We'll all rise together. We'll all rise up again, rise up again. Oh, won't you rise up again, rise up again. Set foot in the river, float out to the ocean, fall down to the bottom, and we will all rise. Step off of the mountain, fall down to the valley, bury your body, all rise together. We'll all rise together. We'll all rise together. And we will all rise together. We'll all rise together. We'll all rise together. And we will all rise together. We'll all rise together.